Hello, traders. Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, March 24th, 2024. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the new all-time high set again last week, with all of the components of the New York FANG Index closing higher last week except for Apple, and most of our indicators bullish at 12, with 6 neutral and 2 bearish going into the week. Long-term trends are intact, though it does look like we are seeing some rotation that we're going to deal with over the next couple of weeks. Last week we left off with all of the indices in the U.S. closing higher, with only the Hang Seng closing lower on the international markets. Most indicators are bullish, though we are seeing some rotation, as we previously mentioned, with energy remaining in a very bullish trend, with all sectors remaining above their 21-day moving average, aside from biotechs and real estate. The rest showing persistent strength, with retail trending, and the remaining sectors showing a little bit of selling or profit taking on Friday. That said, the S&P 500 did make a new all-time high on Thursday, faded a bit on Friday, but remains above 5,200, a major support level, with the 90MA right at the breakout level that we saw on Wednesday. RSI still shows strength of trend. Volume was pretty decent last week, with a bit of elevated selling on Friday. Stochastics and MACD suggest this trend could continue. Most likely we'll see some sideways price action to start the week, so we'll watch for that on Monday. The New York FANG Index also pushed higher on Thursday, off a bit on Friday, but still in a bullish trend. The 921.50 are pointing up and to the right. Something of a triple top that we need to break above this week. All of these stocks closing higher, with the exception of Apple, of course, with the chips leading, Broadcom and NVIDIA pushing higher for the week, gaining 10% and 7% respectively. With that in mind, we'll look for direction from these 10 stocks to start the week, with Netflix and NVIDIA trending along their bullish 21-day moving averages. In addition, the Qs trending along its 921-day moving average, the 50 and the 200-day all pointing higher, volume above average, MACD and stochastics pointing to potential for a bullish trend to continue, with RSI showing strength of trend. In addition, we saw small caps bounce last week on Tuesday, followed through Wednesday, Thursday, but did see a little bit of profit taking at resistance on Friday. If you're trading those small caps, do keep in mind consumer staples just below its 10-period EMA on the weekly. We've got bullish follow through in consumer discretionary, small caps looking good, with energy above its 10 EMA as well. Financials above its 10 EMA looking bullish. Small cap healthcare bullish. Small cap industrials very bullish. Small cap materials bullish, and small cap information technology taking a break over the last few weeks. Finally, there are small cap utilities also trending sideways, trying to make a higher high and a higher low. So if you're trading small caps, just keep in mind 7 of 9 small cap sectors are bullish. Finally, we have the New York Stock Exchange, 2,000 stocks on the composite, trending 921.50, 200-day, all pointing up and to the right. Volume was above average on Monday through Thursday. Friday, a little bit lower, indicating some profit taking at the end of the week. Looking at the highs and the lows from that index, we do have the histogram above the zero line, though there was a little bit of selling on Friday. Advanced decline is making higher highs and higher lows, and we only have blue and green elder sticks since the second week of February. So the strength is very persistent and very hard to short at the present time. 10-year yields have retreated for the last week back to the 200-period moving average. While junk bonds, one of our risky asset classes, remains near 52-week highs. We'd like to see this continue higher. If you're bearish, you want to see junk bonds drop precipitously. And if you're bullish, you want this trend to continue. While most indicators are bullish, we did have a bearish indication with US dollar pushing higher last week. That's affecting gold, silver, and copper, as it logically takes fewer dollars to buy the same amount of gold when the dollar is bullish and rising. Gold closing at the low of the range that we saw over the last 8 to 10 trading days, along with silver and a retreat in copper. The latter, of course, an economically sensitive metal. So we want to see this continue higher on this weekly time frame and reclaim the midpoint from the highs and the lows, indicating a strong economy, in particular construction-related sectors and industries. Finally, there is Brent crude and gasoline prices, all of which are marching a bit higher, still inside of a range that we put in over the last 18 months, with crude near the midpoint and gasoline near the upper half of its range for those last 18 months. Despite the trends in some of the commodities, in particular gold, silver, and crude oil, the majority of the IBD 50 stocks look very strong, more than likely follow through. This list below, with stocks showing the 9, 21, 50, and 200-day up and to the right, and many of these looking ready to break higher, despite the indices trading at all-time highs. Just make sure you check earnings dates before taking any longs this week. With the watch list, we'll list the earnings dates so you don't have to worry about that. ACMR continues higher. It's above the 21-day. Bollinger Bands are squeezing. RSI is above 50. Those stochastics and MACD are turning, showing that momentum is more bullish. We could revisit the highs. Appfolio showing a similar circumstance with MACD and stochastics turning up, showing momentum is bullish. Despite the profit taking on Friday, it's possible that we could see this stock revisit all-time highs, and RSI pointing the way. Strength of trend is persistent. Many in the trading room last week were indicating Arista Networks' bullish trend. We're at all-time highs. RSI is showing strength of trend here as well. Volume looked good on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. MACD and stochastic pointed to a bullish trend, with the company reporting again on May 13th. Nice earnings growth and revenue, over 20% and 45%. Cloud networking solutions that offer software innovations to address the needs of large-scale internet companies. Think AI, and how that interfaces with companies like Oracle, database providers, and chip companies like NVIDIA. Arista Networks, a stock worth considering in the short term. I'd like to see a little pullback first, but this looks very bullish going into the month of April. ARM Holdings still consolidating with RSI above 50, MACD and stochastics turning, momentum returning to the bulls, and potential for this tight Bollinger Band squeeze to activate to the long side in the coming weeks. Axon Enterprises remains in a bullish trend. This used to be, TASER, providing products for the policing community. BBB Foods is a new IPO, trending, looking very strong. Only 6 weeks into its IPO, but bullish, showing up on the IBD 50 this week. Look for a continuation in the trend. Comfort Systems, been in a bullish trend since October. Recent consolidation, Bollinger Bands tight, looking for a resumption of the trend or a pullback. MACD and stochastics pointing higher, with the company beating expectations by 18%. We do have good earnings growth at 65% and revenue growth at 21%. The company is involved in HVAC equipment and associated services. Celsius continues higher, Bollinger Bands are starting to turn inward. I do have a credit spread on this one, so I'm watching for Bollinger Bands to contract and for price to stay above the 21-day moving average, RSI to remain near highs, and stochastics and MACD to start moving sideways. CleanSpark, been on the watch list a couple of weeks, looking for this one to continue this consolidation or break higher. It's been making higher highs and higher lows. RSI is above 50. MACD and stochastics have turned upward, with the company beating consensus estimates and showing persistent earnings growth and revenue growth in the clean energy and Bitcoin mining industries. CrowdStrike in the internet security business, persistent trend. It's been consolidating for the last few weeks. Volume was above average the first week of March. Looking for this to give us direction in the security space. DoorDash trending since October. 9/21/50 200-day persistent strength. RSI, MACD, and stochastics all point to a persistent bullish trend. Elf Beauty consolidating, watching how this trades over the next couple of weeks. I wouldn't mind doing a credit spread on this one underneath the 50-day at 180. Though we would like to wait until Bollinger Bands start to expand so we capture some of that volatility at the same time. Looking for the trend in Elf Beauty to continue higher. Stochastics and MACD are turning. Eaton Corp, very bullish trend since October, November. This one hasn't looked back. 9/21/50 200-day are rising, with the stock showing persistent strength and volume, indicating institutions have been accumulating shares for the past 5 months. The company reports in the beginning of May beat expectations last time around in February with 23% earnings growth and 10% in revenue growth. It beat by 1%. Company offering power management, providing energy efficient solutions that help its customers effectively manage electrical, hydraulic, and mechanical power. Eaton Corp, very bullish. Volume shows institutions have our back. FTAI Aviation builds commercial jet engines, persistent strength, RSI above 70. Price at the upper range of its Bollinger Bands. I wouldn't buy it up here, but I'd look for a little pullback, maybe to the 9 EMA or the 21-day. Every time Bollinger Bands expand, this one just marches higher on a persistent basis. 9/21/50 200-day are all bullish. Freshpet, looking very interesting. Bollinger Bands have collided with the Keltner channel, looking for a breakout of this base. Volume picking up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. MACD and stochastics pointing to a resumption of the trend in a bullish direction. Interactive Brokers consolidating. Bollinger Bands inside of the Keltner channel, looking for a breakout in the short term. Looking for these brokers and financial related names to continue higher. Banks last week, very strong. Kinsale Capital on the watch list last week again. Looking for this trend to continue, with the company reporting again in mid-May. Specialty Insurance, headquartered in Richmond, Virginia. Nice growth in revenue and earnings. Travel and leisure names like Make My Trip, trending. 9/21/50 200-day volume shows institutions have been picking up shares since late January and continue persistently buying shares on the way up. Watch for Make My Trip to continue higher. Meta Platforms trending. 9/21/50 200-day all rising, looking for a follow-through. MACD and stochastics also pointing in a bullish direction for trend continuation. Netflix trending. 9/21/50 200-day all rising, MACD and stochastics at highs. And NVIDIA, persistent bullish trend. 9/21/50 200-day all rising. Volume show institutions are still buying shares even as of last week. With the bank starting earnings in about 3 weeks, we do have a nice follow-through with NVIDIA reporting a month and a half from now. Remains in this bullish trend, looking for the follow-through. Stochastics turning. Probably see semiconductors higher again this week if NVIDIA has anything to do with it. Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, both in an industry that analysts expecting to grow tenfold in terms of the Wegovy and obesity drugs these companies provide. a pretty staggering number of 80 billion between the two of them in the next few years. Palantir been moving sideways. Perhaps an iron condor on this one would work. RSI sideways along with MACD. Stochastics trying to turn up. Keep an eye on Palantir. A lot of people like this one, but it's gone nowhere for the last 6 weeks. Permian Resources, a broadcast and communications company, very persistent trend since moving above the 50-day back in February. Volume indicating institutions have been picking up shares for the last 6 weeks. Carnival Cruise Lines reporting this week. Here's Royal Caribbean, continues this bullish trend. Personally, I like this company the best. Having traveled in the past on all three of the majors, Norwegian, Carnival, and Royal Caribbean. Volume suggests institutions have been picking up shares after breaking out of this flat base. I don't see any persistent selling, so this one looks like it's going to continue higher into the summer sailing season. Salesforce trending 921.50 200-day moving average. I haven't traded this one in a long time, but it is bullish. RSI remains above 50, and Stochastics turning from oversold, showing the bullish momentum, potentially returning this week. Shockwave Medical trending 921.50 200-day, all rising. A medical and cardiovascular industry group leader. Tidewater, bullish trend. Marine services and vessels. Bullish trend continues. RSI showing strength of trend. Vertiv Holdings in the hardware and software industry, very bullish trend since late September, October. This one remains in a bullish trend, 921.50 200-day, all rising. And Stochastics embedded with MACD showing bulls are in control and volume indicating institutions have been picking up shares of late. Wingstop, probably one of my favorite setups this week. Bollinger Bands contracting. MACD and Stochastics rounding the corner, showing that bulls are back in control. Could see a break to the upside. Watch RSI. That's most likely going to follow through this week. With the company beating expectations, doesn't report again until May 22nd. Beating those expectations by 3% with good revenue growth and earnings out of 1,850 locations worldwide. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. Sunday, March 24th, 2024. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 12 midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast, so be sure to check your inbox for that. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao.